Content warning, guys. Um, I didn't want to go through a whole entire hour and something long video. So this is just a maybe. Maybe I'm just thinking it in my mind, but it actually didn't happen. In the video, I think I get mad at my Alexa, maybe. Um, and I say some things like, shut the F up at mother effer. And I don't know if I said that or not. I don't remember. I've said it many times before to her because she annoys me. And for anyone who don't know, Alexa, turn up to 10. Alexa, say hello.
Hi.
It's my Alexa. It's not like a real person. So I don't know if I said that or not. Just so it might be somewhere in the video if you watch the whole thing. I don't know. Please timestamp it for me so I can maybe fix it if I want to. But I might have said it, might have not. Just to put that out there. Okay, bye-bye. Have fun with the video. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the world of Max, where we do a bunch of crazy shenanigans. Today, we are going to be finishing Hello Neighbor Missing Pieces. Let's get started, shall we? So, in the last episode, we read from chapters 8 to 13. So today we are reading 14 to the end of the book, which is somewhere, and I don't remember. I think there's 22 chapters. So there's 17 chapters. Okay. So that's not that many. That's as much. That's about. Okay. Let's. Whoa. Let's get started before my voice dies. Chapter 14. Technically, I'm not breaking the rules. I say it to myself at least 20 times as I cut my way through the woods and edge past the overgrowth on my way to the Golden Apple Factory. I'm not going there to see Aaron. I don't even know for sure that he'll be there. I'm just trying to keep myself from going completely out of my mind with boredom during my last week of grounding. I mean, honestly, never heard that sound ever. Who cares? I mean, honestly, what do my parents expect of me? I can't ask Enzo to hang out every single second. Besides, he's in San Diego visiting his cousins. I mean, if you really think about it, I have no choice but to wander over to the factory where I've spent half of my summer. And if I happen to run into Aaron there, how is that my fault? I can't even convince myself that this is a good idea, but who's to say my parents will even know I left the house? They're so busy trying to suck up to the important people in town, people like Miguel and the Park family who do all that fundraising for the Children's Hospital, and the city comptroller, whatever that is. They won't notice if I leave for a few hours while they're out schmoozing. They're out schmoozing to make people forget you trashed Miss Tillman's audio system. I know, okay? I say loud enough to startle some birds from the trees ahead. I'm already at the factory, though, and it would be stupid to turn around and go back home before I even had a look inside. If Aaron is there, we've got some things to talk about. And by talk, I mean punch. I've been at that window with my flashlight every night, but he hasn't so much as opened his blinds since the prank debacle. And the place is empty. Even the rats appear to have taken off. I know what you mean, I say to the memory of the rats. It feels like a betrayal being here. This is Aaron's place, not mine. He shared it with me, and now he's not even here to enjoy it. He's sitting at home, thinking about what he's done, the way I'm supposed to be sitting at home thinking about what I've done. I'm still mad at him, but I wouldn't feel this bad if I didn't feel guilty too. I take a quick ride on the conveyor belt before I grow tired of that and fiddle with a few of the remaining locks we haven't reached yet. When that gets old, I decide to catch a movie in the office. It takes me a little longer to pick the locks than it takes Aaron, but I get them eventually. And using a flashlight to guide me, I dig around in the filing cabinet and locate an unopened bag of sour cream and onion chips and one last can of soda. I feel a pang of remorse popping the tab on the can, but I tell myself I'll replace it before Aaron has a chance to notice it's missing. Then, at the very back of the filing cabinet, I find an unexpected treasure. A VHS tape with writing on the spine I recognize as Aaron's. No way, Tooth 3? By far the best installment of the Tooth franchise, it's a miracle Aaron managed to capture it on tape. The utter genius of the movie. A psycho mutant with a single long tooth terrorizing a group of innocent popular kids was clearly lost on audiences and never made it past the third installment. Aaron must have had a blank tape ready right when it came on TV. I park myself in front of the screen and munch my way through 1.5 gory hours of dental carnage, pausing only to fast forward through commercials I recognize from at least 5 years ago. As my thumb slips from the fast forward button on the remote, I catch myself watching a clip from a news highlight towards the end of the recording. A woman in a robin egg blue blazer smiles wide against a graphic of an enormous golden red tent. Don't miss your first look at Ravenbrook's very own old seasonal amusement park and entertainment venue, Golden Apple Amusement Park. Suddenly, I've lost any joy for watching Smiley chomp his murderous tooth through unsuspecting teenagers. I don't just feel bad at what I've done to Miss Tillman's store. I feel sick. Maybe it's it's the sour cream and onion, or the smell of the golden apple factory that I've never really noticed before. Maybe it's the fumes or the mold. I bet this place is filled with lead paint. But I'm pretty sure it's guilt. I set the remote down and stand to shut off the VCR, but all at once, the movie cuts out as the credits begin to scroll. Static fills the screen, and in a single blink, I'm looking at Diane Peterson. She's in a flowing dress, and her hair is longer than it is now. It's scooped into a loose bun, and her feet are wrapped in what looks like leather straps. Her legs are long and straight, and she bends to the side with an ease that travels to her face. She smiles lightly, bends the other way, then kicks her leg high, turning and drifting from one side of the room to the other. There's no music. The only sound is the padding of leather as it hits the floor she's dancing on. A floor I realize is her living room. When I look a little harder, I see the worn green sofa in the background, and on it sits a figure I know is Aaron only because of his posture. He's hunched forward, shoulders raised like he's waiting for something to creep up from behind. That's all I can make out, though. His face is blurred by distance. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Diane Peterson, Grace of Ravenbrooks, Spirit of the Pines, Fairy of the Dance, whispers the camera person I immediately recognize as Maya. Oh, Mouse, you'll make my head swell, Miss Peterson says. I always forget the voices. Says, but she doesn't stop dancing. In fact, she careens from one corner of the room to the other, lighter on her feet than before. Buoyant on the cloud of praise Maya conjures from her tiny stature and tiny voice. Even at 5, she had a better vocabulary than most people twice her age. She's like a tiny adult. Do the stag leap, Maya prompts from behind the camera, and Miss Peterson obliges, catching some air before falling to the ground maybe a little ungracefully. But she's a true performer, never letting her adoring audience of 2, see her flinch. And under the faint and enamored giggle of Maya at the camera's microphone, I can hear the breathless hum of Miss Peterson as she sings her own soundtrack. I recognize the song. It's the same melody she was humming that day in Aaron's room as she spread the sheets out for me on the bottom bunk of the bed and brought her mind to a happier time. I hear a rustling of the camera. I hear a rustling off camera, and a man's voice booms with merriment as he hums the song too. Then Mr. Peterson walks into frame, his broad shoulders and mustache like now, but he's younger, lighter. The burdens of his world haven't quite weighed him down yet. Mademoiselle, may I have this dance? He bows formally to Miss Peterson and extends his hand. She takes it gingerly, maybe even tentatively, but when he twirls her once around, she smiles, and I can hear Maya giggle from behind the camera. Miss Peterson continues to hum the melody breathlessly as Mr. Peterson whirls her across the room, his feet unsure, but his face glowing. In the background, I see Aaron stand and search the bookshelf for something, then squat in front of a credenza, fiddling with something before returning to the couch. A song fills the room, its melody restarting from where Miss Peterson paused in her humming. The instrumentals of the song lilt through the air, and Miss Peterson seems not to notice at first that she's suddenly dancing alone. Mr. Peterson stands in the middle of the room, staring at the woman he had once held so adoringly. Now he looks somehow disappointed by what he sees. Then he turns to Aaron, seated once again on the couch. Why would you do that? I don't know. Mr. Peterson takes a step closer to Aaron. You did know, he says, and though I can't see his face, I know his teeth are gritted. And though I can't see Aaron's face, I know it's frozen in fear. You did know, because you always know. You're always watching, Mr. Peterson says, and the camera begins to shake as Maya trembles under its weight. Mr. Peterson takes a step back, turns to the credenza. Alexa, how do you pronounce Credenza?
Credenza is pronounced as credenzu in English. The pronunciation of this word can be found in online dictionaries.
Credenzu. Mr. Peterson takes a step back, turning to the credenzu, and whips the cassette from the stereo before hurling it across the room. It breaks against the far wall, falling to the floor in pieces. Maybe you should go lie down for a bit, dear, Diane says, edging toward him the way someone might approach a rabid dog. He stares at her, betrayed. His great shoulders fall, and he turns his head slowly back and forth. You don't understand at all. I do, darling, I do. It's just, I think maybe you need some rest. You always say I need rest. Why do you always say I need rest? All I do is rest. I can't rest while my brain is... He moves his arm in wide circles around his head, making Miss Peterson flinch. I can hear Maya's breath quicken behind the camera. Miss Peterson struggles to find something to say. I can tell by the way her mouth moves up and down, but she comes up short, and instead she claps her hands in front of her chest and lets out a little laugh that sounds anything but amused. I understand, she says, and reaches a tentative hand to her husband's shoulder, but he swats it away and takes a step closer to her as she stiffens but stands otherwise still. You don't understand. You have never understood. Miss Peterson doesn't say a word. Instead, she presses her lips together, and the tall, proud dancer who was there before wilts to a fraction of her height. Mr. Peterson turns and skulks off camera, a door slamming outside the frame. Maya sniffles from behind the camera, and Miss Peterson puts her hand to her mouth and turns to the camera, shushing her daughter and crouching, her hair now obscuring half of the picture as she holds Maya. In its new position, the camera finally steadies its focus on the couch in the background, and the figure sitting in it. I'd almost forgotten Aaron was even in the room. He was so quiet. He's still quiet, sitting there staring at his mom and his sister, the weight of the entire scene pushing down on his shoulders. But his face is slack, motionless, emotionless. I'm not sure what I'm expecting to see from him in that moment. Maybe something similar to what I suspect I'm showing on my face right now. The realization that Mr. Peterson is completely off his nut. But there's more. The fact that Mr. Peterson is out of his mind isn't exactly news. What is news is that he was nuts while he was building the Golden Apple amusement park, and his whole family knew it. It's hot outside even after the sun goes down, but I don't feel an ounce of warmth on the walk home. I feel each prick of pine needles that I brush against, and each drop of moisture that forms in the humid air. Most of all, I feel an icy, bitter cold at the base of my spine, and it keeps me trembling for the rest of the night. Pretty good, 13 minutes, already got through a chapter. Chapter 15. Anyone who says they're not afraid of the dark is probably lying. Anyone who says they're not afraid of standing in an abandoned amusement park in the middle of the woods in the dark is definitely lying. It's hard to tell where Golden Apple Amusement Park stops and the forest starts. The whole scene is a kind of mangled theme park versus tree showdown, with branches protruding from carousel animals and vines curling around the ruins of concession stands and prize booths. Enough moonlight splashes down on the clearing to keep me from tripping over structures, but my shirt keeps snagging on spokes and gears, the exposed insides of the machinery that ran this place. No one's supposed to see that part, I think to myself. People get uncomfortable when they realize all that's holding together their cars and appliances are gears and wires. One missing bolt and the whole thing collapses. And that's assuming the engineering was sound in the first place. That's assuming the engineer wasn't crazy. I check my watch and see that I'm 10 minutes early. What am I doing here? I say it aloud, so I'm forced to hear what a stupid idea this was. Am I seriously so desperate for a friend that I'm willing to sneak out in the middle of the night to meet Aaron just one day after the last time I snuck out of the house to go to the factory? I pull the crumpled scrap of paper from my pocket and read it from the 100th time. Who am I gonna tell? I ask the note. Each time I read the note, the pit in my stomach widens. There's so much I need to know, especially now that I've seen that video. I can only guess Aaron's ready to tell me everything, which is why he left the note in the trellis. But now that I'm waiting here, waiting in the dark and the nighttime chill that's begun to creep in with the approach of fall, I'm suddenly less eager for answers. I hold my flashlight to see where I'm going. My sweater keeps snagging on the leafless branches, and the more I think about it, the more annoyed I am with myself for showing up here. There's a note that says GAA Park, 11 o'clock, don't tell anyone. The guy goes dark on me for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden I need to meet him in the one place he hates more than anything. The place I practically had to beg him to tell me about, and even then I barely got anything out of him. I'm not really mad though. I'm scared. Scared like a little baby. Get a grip, Nikki, I tell myself. The peeling paint of the prize booths and the skeleton of the Ferris wheel hanging overhead clashed with the gleaming pictures those early newspapers features printed. Smiling parents and wide-eyed kids crowded the park on the opening day. It's hard to believe this place was so alive 3 short years ago. It's hard to believe how much can die in that amount of time. My flashlight clicks and blinks, and I practically drop it, fumbling to recover it before it lands on a warped picnic table. The batteries must be low. Oh, that's just fantastic. I've used it to read Aaron's stupid note so many times, I must have drained what little battery it had left. A twig snaps somewhere behind me, and I whip around with my dying light. But all I can make out is a small square of forest. Some clouds have begun moving over the moon. And now even the bigger structures in the park are hard to see. Everything looks like dark blobs against a darker backdrop. Another snap, and this time I think it's coming from one of the shapes in front of me, though I'm having a hard time determining distance. Aaron, I try to call out, but my voice is hoarse. Get it together, it's just a bunch of trees and metal. But as I open my mouth to try and call out again, the squeal of rusty machinery tears through the air. Gears grind and crunch as they break away from their vines, and with a roar, the forest comes to life with the unmistakable sound of a carousel music. The blob closest to me begins to take shape, and I see the rise and fall of glittering poles. I grab my knees to keep them from buckling at the shock as the shock finally wears off. Seriously, Aaron? I want so much to laugh it off, but I can't get my heart to stop racing. If you're trying to get me to pee my pants, it's not gonna happen, dude. I'm like a camel. One time, I went almost 2 days before... There's someone sitting on one of the horses. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but then the carousel revolved and revolved again, and the outline is definitely a person smaller than Aaron. Just as I'm trying to decide whether to walk forward or run in the opposite direction, the music that seemed to propel the carousel around begins to slow. The high-pitched organ notes lower to a groaning echo into the spinning animals, until the spinning animals finally find their stop, the metal crunching to a halt as the music gives out. I take a step forward, then another, telling myself there's nothing to be afraid of because even the remotest possibility that some kid is playing out here in the middle of the night is not exactly a threat. Who's afraid of a little kid? I am. Because there's no way there's actually a little kid out here playing by himself in the middle of an abandoned amusement park. I don't care how much you like carousels. Shouldn't you be at home asleep? I mean, you could get hurt out here, I say, reasoning with the dark. And why can't I get my heart to stop thudding like that? I'm not gonna rat you out or anything, but you could get in a ton of trouble, I say. And now I'm standing right in front of the carousel. Nothing but silence answers me. I take a deep breath and step onto the carousel, slowly convincing myself it was Aaron after all. Besides, it's way too dark to be sure of anything I saw, and the trees and the shadows distort everything. I take one step, then another, and with the third I run straight into a metal bunny, its haunches planted on the floor of the carousel as it rears up. Its eyes glint red under the dim moonlight. From the corner of my eye, something moves, but I realize it's just the mirror at the center of the carousel. Wow, my chair went back to normal and I could go back. That's awesome. From the corner of my eye, something moves, but I realize it's just the mirror at the center of the carousel. The shadow I saw was myself. I didn't see Kid on the horse. You saw your own reflection. I shake my head, grateful no one was there to see me talking to nothing. This town really had me losing it. Maybe there's nothing weird about Aaron or his family. They're just people who have stumbled into some really crummy luck. If any family should understand that, it's mine. And maybe all that bad made Mr. Peterson go a little nuts. And maybe Aaron doesn't feel like hanging out right now. Maybe he actually feels bad about the whole fart synthesizer incident. I've just about convinced myself that I fabricated the entire bizarre story of Aaron when I remember that the carousel didn't just turn itself on. A metal grate shakes behind me, and I hear a small thud hit the ground, twigs and leaves crunching underneath pounding feet. I'm chasing after the sound before I know what I'm doing. If this is Aaron, he's not going to get the satisfaction of seeing me run away like a scared toddler. After my lungs start to burn, though, I slow to a stop and realize I don't even know if I've been running in the right direction. I put my hands on my knees again, this time to quell the fire in my chest. And when I look up, I see the twisted tracks of a metal roller coaster reaching higher than the highest tree that surrounds it. Branches protrude through the rails and jut skyward, defiant against the fire that burned half the trees that once stood nearby. At the top of the tracks sits a single car, perched precariously on this rail but refusing to let go. I can barely make out the string of peeling golden apples painted across the car, grotesquely cheerful beside the mangled track. I follow the track as it drops to its lowest dip, a height just above my head, and I squeeze my eyes tight against the image of the car that detached from its fellow cars, like a bead of water off the end of a cracking whip, tearing through the nearest circus tent and crashing into the trees. They thought she landed on the ground somewhere. Wasn't that what someone had said in one of the news stories? They finally figured out she was still in the tree. I walked slowly toward the tree line, stepping carefully through the overgrowth of vines and shrubs that have cropped out of the ash. I don't want to, but I look up. I can't help myself. I half expect to see a car painted with apples wedged between a fork in the branches. A little girl quietly bunched up on its bench, seatbelt still secured. The guy who found her said she looked like she was sleeping. She looked so peaceful. I hear crying. I don't believe it at first. I've gotten myself all messed up over the note from Aaron. The stories about the park, the trouble I've gotten into. The trouble I'm going to get into when my parents find out I'm not in bed right now. The crying isn't in my head, though. It's faint, but I hear it. Hey! I call. I'm starting to get tired. This night has been one mistake after the next, and I'm completely over it. All I want is my bed and a dreamless sleep for once. Hey, either quit crying or tell me where you are. Otherwise, I'm out of here. The crying stops. I wait, but not even a sniffle wafts over the air. Good, I say, even though I don't really mean it, because if I turn around and head home now, all I'm going to do is lie in bed and wonder what I heard and saw and why this entire night happened. Ow! Okay, last chance, Aaron. If it's not you... fuck. Take two. Boop. Okay, last chance, Aaron. If it's you. Screw you. I mean that. Take three. Fucking book. Okay, last chance, Aaron. If it's you. Screw you. I mean that. If it's not Aaron, whoever you are. I struggle with what to say next. It's okay if you're scared. Because I'm scared too. I've been scared from the second we moved to Raven Brooks, just like I'm scared every time we move. I'm afraid I won't know where to sit at lunch or what to wear. I'm afraid of saying something dumb or laughing at the wrong time or not laughing at the right time. I'm not afraid I smell... fuck. I'm afraid... Motherfucker, shut the fuck up. I'm afraid I smell weird even after I take 2 showers because our houses always smell like other people, and no matter how many air fresheners you plug in, it still seeps into your clothes. I'm afraid that if I do finally make a friend worth keeping, he'll decide I'm not worth keeping. Maybe some people are just too weird to have friends. What makes you think I'm scared? It's a girl's voice, and I feel dizzy because all I can think of is Lucy Yee. I look up in the tree, and for a second I swear I see a little pink car, an arm dangling from the opening on the side. I feel a hand close around my wrist. I leap backward, jerking my arm away from the cold grasp of fingers that leave a fine scratch along my hand. When I look into the small beam of silver light that creeps through the tree's branches, I see the illuminated face of Aaron's sister. Why are you here? I sputter. I left you a message, she says, looking betrayed. Like I should have known it was her writing me a note and hiding it in the secret place only her brother should know about. Okay, I say, trying to process Maya writing me to meet her in the middle of the night. It's Dad, she says, wasting no time. He's getting worse. My heart drops into my stomach. The note from last month, the golden apple bracelet. It was Maya who left them. Ever since, she looked around, and we both look up at the roller coaster above us. Then she says, he's getting worse. Way worse. I rub my head, which has suddenly began to pound. I wasn't sure the night could get any more bizarre, but Maya is proving me wrong. I know, I say, aware that that's the understatement of the century. Maya isn't the one I was expecting to see tonight. but maybe she could still help me figure out what to do. Next. Is Aaron okay? I saw some things and heard some things about your dad. If you guys aren't safe, we can call the police. No! Maya says firmly. Dad was in a lot of trouble before, with the other parks. If the police knew, Maya, whatever happens to your dad, you and your mom and Aaron, you need to be safe. Nikki, you're not listening, Maya pleads. I am listening, but I'm starting to get desperate too. I just don't know what you want me to do. I've never understood what people meant when they described someone's face as falling. It seemed like an impossible feat for all the muscles in someone's cheeks and mouth and eyes to just slacken and sink. But that's exactly what Maya's face does now. Except her mouth doesn't just shake, doesn't just slacken, it shuts tight. And just like that, all the tension leaves her small frame, and she takes a step away from me. You're the same as everyone else. You don't understand either, do you? She says, and she must be right because I don't even know what is so wrong about what I said to her. I'm still so confused over the Miss Tillman thing and the video and that night in Mr. Peterson's study, but none of that matters now. It's too late to erase what I said. Maya backs away 3 more steps, turns, and disappears into the surrounding woods. Maya! I call after her. Fun fact, the neighbor is named Maya, so I shouldn't be yelling Maya that loud. Because her bedroom was right across from mine. Just like... I call after her. This is the last place either of us should be wandering around alone at night. But I know it's no use. I can't even hear her footsteps anymore. That's a shortcut home. I don't know it. It takes me nearly an hour to make my way back to the trellis in my front yard. I climb the slats carefully, conscious of every rattle and creak the frame makes as my weight pushes it against the side of the house. Then I slide my window open, replace the screen, and secure the latch. I sit there on the window seat with my head against the glass, watching for any sign of movement in the house across the street, worried about whether Maya makes it home safely. I watch the house until my eyes ache and finally close. That night, I have the dream again about the grocery store. Only this time, I'm sitting in the front of the cart, feet dangling from 100 yards up. I'm in a tree, branches crisscross from over my chest, pinning me to the basket. Below me, my parents are as small as ants, scattering over the ground with dozens of others who call my name. But I can't answer. I can't say a word. And then, I can't hear them at all. When I wake up, my head is still pounding, and I have the feeling for just a moment that I never actually went to sleep at all. My shirt and boxers are plastered to my body. And the way my bones ache, I wonder if somehow I was running all night. Is there such a thing as sleep running? Then I remember the night before, with Maya in the carousel and the endless walk home. My tailbone screams out in pain, and I realize it's because I slept on the hard window seat, slumped against the glass, my breath clouding the pain. Suddenly, a loud whatever that is. Suddenly, a loud smack against the window launches me from my morning lull. I groan and wipe the fog from the glass to find the Ravenbrooks banner resting at the top of the trellis. The paper boy, we've noticed, has a powerful but inaccurate throwing arm. Usually the Ravenbrooks banner news is full of local announcements. Catch of the day at Dan's, Chilling Sea Bass, celebrity sightings, local tile maker takes 3rd place in poetry competition, and tragedies. Loss! Lovely border collie answers to the name Noodle. This time, though, the news is graver than a lost dog. This is how I find out about the accident. After a long time, Mom calls from the kitchen. I forgot her name. I forgot her voice. Narv, can you come out for a minute? I drag myself off the window seat and down the hallway. Slouch in a chair as my father sets down his editor's copy of the paper, and my mom puts a plate of... Ow! And my mom puts a plate of waffles in front of me. She sits down and puts a hand on my forearm. We've got something to tell you. It's going to be hard to hear. I methodically pour syrup into every square of my waffle, avoiding the eye contact Mom is desperate to make with me while she creeps up on the news. The paper landed in the trellis this morning, I say, taking a bite of the waffle I don't even want. I already read it. Oh, Mom says, then looks at Dad like, what now? Do you want to talk about it? No, I say. It's just that I think we ought to talk about it, Dad tries. I'm good, I say. Honey, you don't need to be good, says Mom. I know. Now it's Dad's turn to look at Mom. They're stuck again, so am I. But I don't know how to tell them that Aaron's mom died last night, and I haven't figured out how to cross the street to see if he's okay. And I felt like I'm going to puke ever since I read the front page. They're having a service on Saturday. Your dad and I are going to go. Do you want to come too? Either way, it's okay. No. Okay, I say. Local mother dies in tragic accident. Chapter 16. Wife of troubled theme park designer dead in apparent car accident on RT-17. Everyone brings food to the funeral. They treat it like it's some sort of party, with these stupid paper plates that are too small to hold anything, and casseroles you dish out with other people serving spoons. You can just return it whenever it's convenient. Don't even worry yourself over that now. People say dumb things like that. She looked so beautiful, didn't she? Like no one thinks it's creepy that you put a nice dress and makeup on a dead person to make them look alive again. Or it was a lovely service. No, it wasn't. It was hot in there, and my tie is chafing my chin. And it wasn't lovely, it was sad. That's why people were crying. Got it prepared.
Nicky, don't you look handsome?
Miss Tillman says, suddenly forgetting that she had a lawyer send a letter to my parents demanding payment for the damage the synthesizer caused her store's intercom. Thanks, I say standing. I'm gonna get more food.
Boys, I swear, if I ate like they did, I'd drop dead of a heart attack and right here.
It was already quiet in the house, just lots of mumbling and sniffing. Now you could hear a squirrel fart. I don't know the voices because it doesn't tell me who's saying them. I'm sorry. I don't know the voice. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was. It's okay, Marcia. Just shush. Let's go check on the kids. I don't know who's talking. It doesn't say. In the kitchen, I open and close some cabinets just to look busy. I avoid teary gazes and mournful nods in my direction until everyone finally leaves and I'm alone to contemplate how I've never been alone in this room. Actually, I've rarely ever been alone anywhere in this house. It's like someone was always watching what I was doing. I'd go to open a door, and out would pop Mr. Peterson. I'd wander down a hallway I'd never seen, and here Aaron would come, pulling me away toward his room or the kitchen. Even Maya seemed to linger on me. In fact, the only one who never seemed to pay me much mind was Diane Peterson. Mom and Diane are actually a lot alike. Were a lot alike. Mom laughs at jokes Dad calls low class, and she gets a headache when she drinks red wine. She likes cats and hates birds, and even though she says she likes dogs, I think she just says that so people don't think she's some kind of monster. Diane was the same way. But then she would drift, her thoughts wandering the way my grandma warned me not to let mine. She'd reminisce about the way Ravenbrooks used to be, how welcoming and kind. She'd talk about neighbors who used to live there, and ones who still did but didn't come around anymore. She'd talk about the trips their family took to London and Berlin and Tokyo, invited by theme parks seeking Mr. Peterson's expert eye. "We wanted a quieter life, though," Diane said once, then smiling ruefully. And I know she was remembering how the aftermath of Lucy Yee's death was anything but quiet. Out the kitchen window, I see Mom and Dad huddled close to each other in the backyard, peering over their shoulders to make sure no one is around. They're probably saying something inappropriate, something they'd scold me for saying. Or maybe they're just trying to figure out how someone could be here one day, on the road to the outlet mall 30 miles away to buy Aaron and Maya new jackets. And then, gone.
Poor little thing. Imagine being 10 years old and losing your mother. I didn't even see her at the funeral.
Miss Tillman appears in the kitchen doorway and stops talking when she sees me, then looks to the woman I think is Aaron's aunt.
"Lisa, this is little Nicky,"
She says.
"Aaron's friend from across the street. His family moved in this summer."
"Nick," I say, and Miss Tillman's lips tighten. "I'm gonna find Aaron," I say. I don't mean to be rude. Mom would have pinched the back of my arm if she'd overheard, but I don't feel much like making other people feel better at that moment. And I'm pretty sure the only other person who's going to understand that is Aaron. I walk upstairs and leave the low murmur of morning under me. It's stuffy upstairs, but the air still feels lighter than it did down there, and I take a few breaths and head for the room at the end of the hall. Before I get there, I have to pass the master bedroom, though, and I'm surprised to see Mr. Peterson standing there, staring at the bed. It's made, and I wonder if he made it this morning because he knew people would be coming over after the funeral. Or maybe he hadn't slept in it at all. He's turned a little to the side, which is why at first I think he's staring at the bed. It isn't until I get a little closer, that I realize he's not looking at the bed at all. He's looking at the mirror beside the bed. Only, I don't think he's looking at himself. Whoa. I think he's staring at something else he can see in the reflection. I try to see what he sees, but I'm too far away. Still out of the range of the mirror and far too far away. Idiot. Okay. I try to see what he sees, but I'm too far away. Still out of the range of the mirror and far enough down the hall so my reflection isn't there yet. I look at the wall beside me, but nothing seems out of the ordinary. Nothing to be staring at the way he is. Not aimlessly like he is daydreaming, but like he's watching something. All of a sudden, I feel like I shouldn't be here. Like I'm intruding even though I've spent almost as much time in this house as I have in my own. I want to run down the hall to Aaron's room, but whatever is going on with Mr. Peterson feels like something I should interrupt. If he didn't look so upset, I think he was praying. His face is all sweaty, and his lips aren't moving, but I can't hear him saying anything. I turn around and head for the stairs. The kitchen doesn't sound so bad anymore, and I can wait for everyone there. Aaron probably wants to be alone anyway. Maybe Maya needs something to eat. And where is Maya anyway? I'm almost to the first step when I hear Mr. Peterson make a kind of I'm gonna take this time to say make sure to subscribe button and notification bell so you're notified when future videos come out. We were at 324, now we're at 322. Who cares? It's still all good for me, definitely. Yeah. Definitely did not break my book right now. Hopefully I didn't. Let's see. No, it's fine. Damn, it's dumping outside. Whoa. Oh, well, why is this movie so good now? I'm almost to the first step when I hear Mr. Peterson make a kind of hiccuping sound. No, he whispers. I lean back and try to see his face in the mirror, but I can't see anything from the stairs. Ow. I slink toward his room again, shoving aside the dread that's creeping in. TikTok. I don't even use TikTok. I stand where I did before, and now Mr. Peterson is holding his face like it hurts. Except he looks like he's the one hurting it because he's pressing and squeezing so hard. His skin is turning pink and his eyes are bulging. No, please, he says, and it sounds like anguish, like begging. Please, just stop. I open my mouth to say something. Is this what it looks like when someone has a stroke? Or an aneurysm, or a meltdown? I turn toward the stairs, regretting more than ever saying whatever it was I said to anger Maya the other night. Their dad needs help. I need to flag someone down without disturbing him, but everyone's migrated out of the living room. Then I hear a kind of squeal, and the first thing I think of is a mouse we found in the attic of the red house once. The squeal turns into a hoarse cry, and I realize that Mr. Peterson is trying to scream. I spin around to see what it is Mr. Peterson can't seem to stop seeing, and suddenly his face has gone slack, his head limp and useless at his sides. His face is splotched red from where he squeezed it, but his eyes are half closed, his gaze unfocused. I'm about to bolt for the stairs to get help when a flash of white in the corner of my eye catches my attention. Aaron is there, standing at the end of the hall, his white shirt untucked, his tie perfectly in place. He's staring hard at me, like he's trying to see right through me, and for the first time ever, I have no idea what to say to him. I think your dad's... I want him to finish my sentence, but he just stares at me. I try again. I don't think he's himself. Aaron doesn't smile, but his eyes squint a little. I expect him to at least be worried, but he just stands there. Then he says, "Really? He seems perfectly fine to me." I take a few steps closer to Aaron. Are you okay? He laughs a joyless laugh, his eyes no longer squinting. Yeah, I'm on top of the world. Why do you ask? I'm sorry, it's just I don't really know what to say. I stumble through my explanation. He's obviously upset. How could he not be? It was a nice service. I mean, you said some nice things, I muttered. And maybe this is why people say such stupid things after funerals. It's impossible to come up with the right words. Still, Aaron is making it very easy. We were hardly hanging out before his mom died. Now the accident. And there was that thing with... Do you know where Maya is? I ask him, and Aaron goes silent. He's so still, I think maybe he's figured out how to turn himself to stone. Finally, he says, "Why are you looking for Maya?" I take another step closer because the glare from the window in the hallway is casting a weird shadow on his face. I guess I just wanted to make sure she's okay. I mean, as okay as she could be. Maya's... He starts to say, then swallows, and now I'm close to panic. What if she never made it home the other night? If there's something going on, I mean, of course there's something going on. But if there was something going on, you know, before you can tell me. Aaron straightens his head, and his face is back in shadow. I don't want to get any closer to him, though. Trust me, Nikki, he says. You don't want to hear it. I hear a creak behind me, and the floorboard under me lifts the tiniest bit. I spin around and find Mr. Peterson standing a foot away. His face is still splotch pink from the pressure he applied to it. I jump back before I can stop myself. It's just that I forgot he was even there. Tell everyone to go. It's time to go home, Aaron, Mr. Peterson says, his voice flat and emotionless. Then he returns to his room, this time closing the door behind him. When I turn it back to Aaron, for the briefest second, I recognize the person looking back at me. His eyes are rimmed red, and his Adam's apple travels up and down his neck as he chokes something back. But his voice is as emotionless as his dad's. Time to go home. I don't wait for him to tell me twice. It's not just a hint anymore. He's telling me in no uncertain terms that he's got enough going on to deal with any of the drama I bring. Maybe two kids with a bunch of missing pieces don't make each other whole. The perfect machinery with all its parts in place. Maybe they just empty each other out more. I'm halfway down the stairs before I hear him say, and Nikki, don't come back. Chapter 17. I've held the golden-plated golden apple charm bracelet so many times. It's starting to leave a green tinge on my skin. It's like I'm waiting for it to break open and reveal its secrets to me, to tell me what Maya wanted me to say that night. It would be easiest to just ask Maya, but predictably, I haven't seen her, or any of the Petersons, since the funeral. Not in the front lawn, not in the windows. Mr. Peterson's car hasn't moved. I've walked across the street a half a dozen times now, but I chicken out every time I'm about to ring the doorbell. Either I'm too afraid Mr. Peterson will answer, or I'm too embarrassed that Aaron might answer and be mad that I haven't done more to be there. He told you not to come back. That's a justification that stops my finger midair over the doorbell. But isn't that part of the messy process of grieving? My mom was a total wreck after my grandma died, and we knew for a while that she was coming to her end. Wouldn't it make sense that Aaron was all messed up, too? That he was just saying things he didn't mean? Wouldn't a real friend try harder to be there? There's a fine line between trying harder and trying too hard, though. None of this feels right. The leaving Aaron alone, the not being there for him, the sudden absence of any activity at all from across the street. Nobody seems in the least bit fazed that neither Aaron nor Maya have been seen outside the house for over 2 weeks. Oh, damn, my battery's gonna die. Okay, gotta go get my charger for my computer. Oh my god, I'm saved. It's right here. Is it plugged in? Wait. Oh my god, it's plugged in. I don't have to get up. There we go. No. They're probably just spending time together as a family, said Mom when I brought her my concern. It's important to give them their space, Narf, Dad said. I heard other excuses too. At the natural grocer.
Seclusion is probably the best thing for them right now.
At the farmer's market. That poor little girl must be devastated. She worshipped her mother. At the university while I waited for Mom.
I wouldn't even know what to say, honestly.
It seems like everyone has a reason for avoiding the Petersons. Now, more than ever. I don't even care about all the unanswered questions at this point. I'd settle for an afternoon of Cerviva bars and lockpicking. Yes! Sorry, new video I've been wanting to watch for a while. It just came out. It's... But I'm not better than anyone else in town. Because instead of flashing a note to Aaron's window or leaving something in his mailbox, I'm walking to a pep rally with Enzo. As if Ravenbrooks isn't weird enough, apparently they also have a different tradition around football than pretty much every other school I've attended in every other town we've lived in. They hold their first pep rally 2 weeks before school even starts. Why is everyone in such a hurry to go back to school? I ask, moping even though Enzo actually seems excited. Dude, aren't you bored? Wait, no, I forgot his voice. Dude, aren't you bored? He says, walking faster than I want to. Nope. Bored wouldn't be the word I'd use. I just don't get wanting to hang out on the football field and cheer for a bunch of jocks who would probably rather be punching people like me in the neck. Enzo looks at me, and I'd swear to the aliens, it's like it's never occurred to him that we're nerds. Why would they want to punch you in the neck? I have no idea what to say. When we get to the high school, it's already teeming with kids way older than us. Tell me again why this isn't at our school, I say, a wave of nausea rolling through me. It's like the first day of school times 1,000. Everyone knows everyone. If Enzo leaves my side even for a second, I'm sunk. Because technically, middle schoolers aren't supposed to be here. But all the middle schoolers come here anyway? I ask. But all the middle schoolers come anyway? I ask. So far, not finding a single person who looks remotely close to 12. Eventually, yeah, Enzo says, nudging me through a crowd of guys in backward Ravens hats. I want a good seat, he says, and ushers me to the very first row of the metal bleachers. Because nothing says cool like sitting in the first row. Can we maybe move back a little, I plead, finding a perfectly invisible corner where I could easily make an exit once it's discovered. We're literally the only middle schoolers at the high school pep rally. Shh, he says. It's starting. Why I need to be quiet is a mystery. The cacophony that drowns us out even before the team hits the field is nothing compared to the clatter of the marching band that follows, all of them decked out in their purple jackets and plumed hats. Enzo stands and cups his hands over his mouth, giving an ear-splitting hoot to the band. Aren't they great? Aren't they great? Aren't they great? He says, beaming, and I can't understand any of it. Everyone's excited, but it makes no sense why Enzo is excited. Yeah, the band sounds great, and they have this synthesized wave thing they do. But Enzo is looking like he's ready to crowd surf, and there's going to be no one there to catch him. Except for the oboe player, because she just blew a kiss at Enzo. Oh, I say. Trinity, isn't she amazing? Fuck. Trinity, isn't she amazing? He says, and I can't help but smile at Enzo because I'm seriously never seen anyone happier in my entire life. He's like one big, pumping red heart. Maybe only Trinity looks happier, with her glistening braces and waist-length braids and glitter brushed across her dark brown cheeks. I would have pushed my way to the front row, too. After the game, not a game, but more of a scrimmage, since Ravenbrooks is the only town to even be thinking about a pep rally yet. Enzo and Trinity and I grabbed cheeseburgers because the sushi place is already closed. I don't have a voice for Trinity yet. Ow! Damn, that hurt. Okay. Hour. Gotta think of a voice. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna do the voice I do for all the other girls, because I don't have a voice. Right, who wouldn't pick sashimi over a greasy burger? Trinity says, and if it's possible, I found yet another oddball in Ravenbrooks. She makes me like Enzo even more. I've never seen a person so blissfully unaware of his dorkiness, and someone else be so accepting of that. Except, I kind of have seen that with my parents. Weird. After dinner, Enzo bumps his fist to my shoulder. I'm gonna walk Trinity home. You good? I nod and I mean it. I actually am good. That is, until I pass a National Grocer on my way home. And memories of farting the afternoon away on Serviva bars and with Aaron fill my brain and make me feel guilty all over again. The house is dark when I get home, and I find a note from Mom and Dad. Hope you had a good time, Narf. We're out being parents. That's what the note says. I tried to watch the Creepathon they're showing on TV, but I just can't get into it. Not even when they featured the original Tooth. I realized that I'd held out the tiniest bit of hope that Aaron would make an appearance at the rally, even though I know that wouldn't have been his scene even before his mom's accident. In bed, I stare at the ceiling and wonder why I've been so stuck in my head, so worried about what everyone else would think of what I'm doing or not doing. I've spent so much time trying to find a way to hide in every new town I start over in. I've practically forgotten that there are things people might actually think aren't repulsive. This is stupid, I say to the ceiling, and I get out of bed and grab a sheet of paper from my desk. In thick black marker, I write, "It's okay if you're not okay." I roll the flashlight from under my bed. Fresh batteries lighting it up bright again, and flick it on and off a few times at my window. Then I take a pillow and prop it under the flashlight handle until it holds the sheet of paper against the pane. I watch the window across the street for so long, my eyes get dry and heavy, and eventually I make my way to my bed, this time ready for sleep. I leave the note there, though. I wake up screaming. At least, I must have been screaming because that's the last thing I heard before I launched out of my bed, my back soaked in sweat. My throat aches like I've been shouting. I stand up, ready to reassure my parents I'm okay. It was just another dream. Just another wandering dream. There's something different about this one, though. Something very, very wrong. I was in the grocery cart like always. I was high above the ground, but suddenly I wasn't. Once again, I was wandering the aisles looking for help. My mother, my grandmother, someone to take me away from this place I knew I shouldn't be. The aisles grew darker and darker until they weren't aisles at all anymore. They were hallways, Guided by candlelight, I walked along the hallways as shadows danced on the walls. I came to a room, empty except for a greasy paper bag. When I looked inside, I saw old takeout containers, 2 roaches crawling in and out of the to-go boxes. I backed away from the bag, but instead of finding my way out, I fell deeper until I was crawling again through the dark. I was alone, and then I wasn't. I was on a chair carrying me higher and higher above a sea of faceless bodies. I screamed for help. Higher above, I screamed for help, but nobody came. I pleaded to go home, but a voice crackled over the speaker I couldn't see. "You already are home," it said. Then the seat tipped me into the grasping hands of the bodies below. I was falling. Then I woke up. I opened my door, but no one greets me in the hallway. My parents are fast asleep. My dad's toe is switching from under the covers. It's still nighttime. I closed my door again, cupping my raw throat because it's impossible that I hadn't made enough noise to wake them. Isn't it? I look to the window and find my note still pressed to the glass, my flashlight still propped behind it. As I creep closer to the window, though, I see that something is different from before. Aaron's white curtain is billowing lightly through his open window. No, not open. Broken window. And not just cracked like it was before. A jagged hole in the corner lets in a gentle night breeze. A hole I'm positive wasn't there before I went to sleep. The curtain isn't the only thing fluttering against the broken window either. A white sheet of notebook paper dances in between the curtain and the glass. I squint, trying to make out what's on the paper, but it's no use. I'm too far away. Grabbing my flashlight, I pop the screen from my window as quietly as possible. Though apparently not even an earthquake would rouse my parents from sleep. So I might as well break the glass. Climbing the shaking trellis, I pad across my grass in the street to Aaron's yard. More afraid than ever because of that note. That broken window. Something is wrong. Underneath this window, I watch the paper flap in the nighttime breeze, but I still can't make out what it says. It says something, though. That much I can see. This is nuts, I say to myself, but I know it's not. He'll be fine, I say to myself, but I know he won't. Still, what am I supposed to do? Climb the tree to get the note he clearly meant for me to see? Yes, you're supposed to climb the tree. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. I've already resolved to go back inside to grab my shoes so I can get a better foothold on the trunk, but then a gust of wind kicks up, rattling the leaves above me and dislodging the notebook paper from the jagged hole in the window, sending it sailing into the middle of the street. I chase after it, stepping on its corner right before it floats into a sewer drain. Crouching slowly, I unfold the lined paper to see Aaron's handwriting. The message is simple, but it would only be simple to me. It reads, I make bad things happen. It might be enough to keep me away for good. He's telling me to, in a way he knows only I'll understand. It might be enough to forget all about Aaron Peterson and his sister and his mom and his dad and their sad, fraught lives. It might be enough to accept for the broken window, except for the thick smear of dried blood that streaks a line across the notebook paper. If it's possible that Aaron really does make bad things happen, it's equally possible that bad things can happen to Aaron, just like a bad thing happened to his mother, just like something bad might be happening to Maya. It's only a note and a broken window, and it might be enough to keep me from thinking that something horrible is happening in the Petersons' house. It might be enough, but in the end, it's not. Because the closer I look at that hole in the window, the clearer the scene becomes. The smudge of blood along the jagged edges, the greasy black handprint left on the glass. I stand in the middle of Friendly Court, staring at Aaron's scrawled words until the streetlight above me flickers, then gives up for the night, leaving me alone in the darkness. We did it! We just finished the first book in the Hello Neighbor book series franchise. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Make sure that subscribe button and notification bell so you're notified when future videos come out. But don't be scared. That isn't the only book in the series, like I said. The next book is Hello Neighbor, Walking Nightmare. This is going to be the next Waking Nightmare. Duh. This is going to be the next book we're going to be rereading next week. Okay. That being said, don't have anything else. My voice is dead. Goodbye, everybody.